Room 228 had the Do Not Disturb sign out for 4 days straight, 96 hours. On Friday, I had to open it. The deadbolt was thrown from the inside. The only way to throw that deadbolt is from inside the room. I know because I installed every one of those deadbolts myself. We opened the door. The room was empty. Both beds made, paper strips still on the pillows, soap sealed in the wrapper, towels folded on the rack. Nobody had slept there. The D&D sign hangs off the interior door handle. It can only be put there from inside the room. I have the master key log. My name is on every entry for room 228 that week. I wasn't in that Kimura. I ran the night desk at the Clearview Motor Inn on Highway 31 outside Shelby County, Tennessee, for 14 years. Single-story horseshoe layout, 52 rooms, exterior corridors, old-school roadside property. The kind that's been there since before the interstate moved the traffic. We had a pool that was functional about 8 months a year, a vending machine at the far end of the horseshoe that took coins and cash, and a laundry room that smelled like someone had washed a dog in it sometime in 1994, and it never fully recovered. I liked working there. Small property, you know every room, you know which ones have plumbing that complains, which ones get cold drafts under the door in February. It was manageable. The owner, a man named Dennis, who'd run the Clearview since his father left it to him, gave me 7 rules on my first night. He typed them out on a half sheet and laminated it. It's in my memory word for word. Rule 1, always walk the full horseshoe at the start of your shift. Rule 2, parking lot lights go off at 11 and back on at 4, override if needed. Rule 3, exterior pool gate locked by 10 p.m., no exceptions. Rule 4, and I need you to remember Rule 4. Rule 4 was, if a D&D sign has been out longer than 48 hours, call the room before you knock and knock before you enter. The order matters, and always document it. Dennis never told me why Rule 4 was so specific. I assumed it was liability. You have to give people every chance to respond before you enter their room, because entering without consent, even with cause, is the kind of thing that gets a motel sued. So I followed Rule 4 by the letter. The last time I followed it was in late February, about 2 years before I left the Clearview for good. It was a slow season, mid-February, single-digit occupancy some nights. The Tuesday that started this was cold and damp, one of those Tennessee winter nights that can't decide if it wants to be rain or sleet and settles on both. I had maybe 18 rooms occupied out of 52. February at a highway motel is its own thing. The guests you get in February are not the summer drive crowd, not the families on road trips. In February, you get long-haul truckers who need 4 hours of sleep before continuing east. You get people relocating who haven't found permanent housing yet. You get a certain number of people who just need a door they can lock for a night with no questions asked. I've seen all of it in 14 years, and I don't judge any of it. Motels exist to give people a place to be temporarily. That's the whole purpose. When Claire Renner walked in at 10 on a Tuesday in February, she was, on the surface, entirely unremarkable. That's not an unkind thing to say. It's just accurate. She was one of 1,000 guests I'd checked in who carried one small bag, took one room, didn't ask for anything extra, and went straight to their door. At the Clearview, that describes a good portion of our guests. People who've done this before. People who just want the room. A woman came in just past 10 p.m. She said her name was Claire Renner. She had a reservation for 2 nights. I couldn't find it immediately. It had come through a third-party booking site, and those sometimes lag in the sync. But the credit card she handed me was a prepaid Visa, and it processed fine. I checked her into room 228, which is about 2/3 down the south arm of the horseshoe, a double room with a parking lot view. It's a decent room. Nothing wrong with it, no quirks I was aware of. She carried one bag, small canvas duffel, the kind you'd take for a weekend. She didn't ask for extra towels or a rollaway or anything else. She said thank you, took her keycard, and walked down the sidewalk to 228. I watched her through the office window. That's habit. You always watch a new guest walk to their room, make sure they get there without trouble. She put the key in, the door opened, she went in. A minute later, the exterior D&D sign appeared on the door handle. I noted it in my log, room 228 D&D, 10:26 p.m., and went on with my shift. The Clearview's D&D signs are fabric, a small rectangular banner with a printed message on both sides. Please do not disturb on one. Please make up room on the other. They loop over the door handle. Dennis ordered them by the case every few years because guests occasionally took them as souvenirs. We went through about 30 a year. I mention this because the construction of the sign is relevant later. Wednesday morning, my housekeeper, Maria, came in at 8 and started the service route. She skipped 228 per the D&D sign. Standard. I wasn't there. I'd gone home at 6. The day manager, a part-time woman named Sandra, noted that 228 still had the sign out at 10 a.m. She called the room, no answer. She left a voicemail saying housekeeping was available if they wanted service. No callback. I came back Wednesday night at 11. D&D sign still out on 228. I noted the time on my log. 25 hours now. Not yet at the 48-hour protocol trigger. I called the room at midnight as a courtesy. No answer. I left it. One thing I want to be clear about. In 14 years, a D&D sign for 25 hours was not unusual at a roadside motel. People use motels differently than they use hotels. At the Clearview, you got travelers who were genuinely exhausted and wanted nothing to do with the outside world for 36 hours. You got people recovering from long drives who slept around the clock. You got people going through difficult transitions, divorces, job losses, family situations, who needed a quiet place to be invisible for a while. We respected that. That's part of what a roadside motel offers. Low key, no judgment. The door stays locked as long as you want. So Wednesday night's D&D was not an alarm. It was a note in my log. Nothing more. I did a slow pass of the south arm around 1 in the morning on my floor walk. The exterior corridor is open, no interior hallways at the Clearview, just the covered walkway between the room doors and the parking lot. Room 228's curtains were drawn. The D&D sign was on the door handle. I paused for a moment. I could see a faint line of light under the door, the kind that means the bathroom light is on, or possibly the TV is on somewhere in the room. A glow, barely visible, but there. It told me someone was probably in there, which made sense. A guest who didn't want to be bothered. Prepaid card, 2-night reservation, D&D sign out. Nothing overtly wrong. I walked back to the office and logged my observation. 228 D&D still out, approx 26 hours. Faint light under door, no disturbance signs. Will monitor. The faint light bothered me slightly in retrospect because of what we found later. But at the time I read it the way you read any light under a motel door at 1 a.m. Someone was awake or had left the bathroom light on before sleeping or had the TV going low. Normal. I went on with my shift. Step 26, Part 1, he went on. Thursday morning, Sandra called the room twice. No answer. The reservation was technically for 2 nights. Check-in Tuesday, check-out Thursday, so the check-out date had technically passed without any communication. Sandra knocked on the door Thursday at 10 a.m. and said she got no response. She wrote in the day log, 228 past checkout date, no contact, D&D still out. Did not enter, no answer to knock. Left note under door with front desk number. I want to be precise about the timeline here because it matters. At no point in the first 3 days did anyone have concrete reason to believe something was wrong. A guest past checkout with a D&D sign out is a billing issue, not a safety issue, at least not until the 48-hour wellness protocol kicks in. We couldn't just override someone's room at 10 a.m. on Thursday because they'd been quiet for 2 days. The procedure exists to balance guest privacy against their safety, and you follow it in order. The note Sandra left under the door bothered me when I read about it later. She'd slid a piece of paper under the door with the front desk number on it. If someone in that room had wanted to respond, that was a clear invitation. No one called. No one came to the desk. No one slid the note back out. The note was presumably still on the floor of the room when we entered Friday morning, but when we went in, there was no note on the floor. I came in Thursday night to find the D&D sign still on the door. 48 hours had now passed from when I'd first noted it. Protocol triggered. I called the room at 11:15. 8 rings. No answer. I walked to 228 at 11:30. The light under the door was gone. No glow. Just dark at the threshold. I knocked twice. Firm knocks. The professional kind, not tentative. Front desk checking in. Anyone in there, please let us know you're okay. Standard wellness language. You don't say you're coming in, you ask if they're okay. Nothing. I pressed my ear to the door. In 14 years, I'd gotten good at hearing what a room sounded like through a door. You can hear the HVAC hum. You can hear if a TV is on, even on low. You can hear movement. Sometimes you can hear breathing if it's close to the door, though that's rare. I heard nothing. Pure nothing. Not even the HVAC. That was the first thing that felt wrong. Every room at the Clearview has the same window unit HVAC. In February, they run on heat. That HVAC should have been audible through the door, a low, steady white noise hum. In 228, I heard silence. I've stood outside occupied rooms in cold weather before. You always hear something, the machine cycling, a muffled TV, the settling of the building. Room 228 was as quiet as a room that had been sealed for a long time. Not a sleeping person quiet, a sealed-off quiet. Like the air on the other side of that door was completely still. I knocked a third time. Announced myself again. Nothing. I logged the time, 11:34 p.m., and walked back to the office. Dennis's rules said I had the right to enter after 48 hours and an unanswered knock, but it was good practice to have a second person present for wellness checks. Maria wasn't there. She comes in at 8. Sandra was long gone. I called Dennis. He said he'd come in Friday morning and we'd do the entry together with Maria as witness. He wasn't happy about it, but he agreed it was the right call. I spent Thursday night doing what I could from the outside. On my 2 a.m. floor walk, I passed 228 again. D&D sign still there, no light under the door, no sound. I noticed something on the second pass, around 4 a.m. that I'd missed before. The D&D sign at the Clearview is a fabric sign, the kind that loops over the door handle on the outside. It's designed to hang on the exterior handle. But room 228's door has a standard exterior lever handle and an interior lever handle. The signs are supposed to loop over the exterior handle when a guest hangs them. The sign on 228 was looped over the interior handle, which is on the inside of the door. I stood at that door in the dark at 4 a.m., looking at that sign through the gap between the door and the frame. The gap is small, maybe 1/8 of an inch. But if you angle a flashlight just right, you can see the interior handle. The D&D sign was looped around the interior handle, not the exterior. It had been placed from inside the room. Someone had threaded the D&D sign around the interior handle and closed the door, which means someone was standing inside room 228 when that door was closed. I've installed every door at the Clearview. I know how they're hung. I know where the gap is. I know the difference between the interior and exterior handle silhouettes. I am not wrong about what I saw. I stood there for another minute. I thought about the light I'd seen under the door on Wednesday night. Was that light before or after the sign was placed? I couldn't be sure. I'd seen the sign on Tuesday night when she checked in. Had it been on the interior handle then? I tried to remember. I couldn't say for certain. I'd logged D&D sign on door and kept walking. I hadn't checked which handle. I thought about knocking again. It was 4 a.m. If there was a person in that room, if Claire Renner was in that room for some reason, asleep, distressed, unresponsive to knocking, then knocking at 4 a.m. served a purpose. Wellness check. Rule 4. But that door had been silent, completely silent. No HVAC, no TV, no breathing. Silence like a room with no air in it. I went back to the office. I did not knock. I called Dennis's cell at 5:30 and said we had a situation with 228 that needed to be handled with him present at the property. He said he'd be there by 7:30. Dennis arrived at 7. Maria came at 8. We went to room 228 together. I knocked, announced entry, 3 times per protocol. No response. I inserted my master key. The lever handle turned. The door didn't open. Dennis looked at me. I looked at him. We both knew what it meant. I said it out loud anyway. Deadbolts thrown. The Clearview's deadbolts are the old-style chain and bolt type. You throw a lever on the interior to engage the bolt. It extends into the door frame. The only way to disengage it from outside is with an override bar that disengages the bolt mechanically through the gap in the door frame. I got the bar from the maintenance cabinet, came back, worked it into the frame gap, and disengaged the bolt. The door swung open. Both beds made. Paper strips still around the pillows, the decorative fold at the foot still in place. The kind of condition that means housekeeping made those beds, and no one has lain on them since. Bathroom. I walked in and checked. Bone dry. Dry basin, dry tub, dry toilet seat. Soap still in the wrapper. Shampoo and conditioner in the sealed individual packets. Towels folded on the rack with the fold facing out, the way Maria leaves them after service. The room had been serviced once, Monday, the day before Claire Renner checked in, and then untouched. No luggage, no canvas duffel, no personal items anywhere. The D&D sign, I looked at it carefully as I pushed the door open. It was looped over the interior door handle, and the deadbolt was thrown. From the inside, the room had been locked and signed from the inside, and no one was inside. Dennis and I stood in the center of room 228 for about 30 seconds without saying anything. Maria was standing in the doorway. She said quietly, "There's nobody here." I said, "I know." Step 3-6, Part 2, Iwantung. We stood in room 228 for maybe 5 minutes. The 3 of us, Dennis, Maria, me. Dennis opened the closet, empty. He checked under both beds, nothing but the standard anti-theft cable for the TV. He pulled the curtains aside, parking lot, empty, pale February morning light. There was nowhere someone could be hiding. It's a motel room. There's no attic access, no crawlspace hatch, nothing. A bed, a dresser, a bathroom, a closet. If a person isn't visible, they aren't in the room. Dennis called the room out of service and locked it with a maintenance do not enter sign on the door. He said we'd need to get answers before we rented it again. I went to the office to pull the paperwork on Claire Renner. The reservation had come through a third-party site, as I'd thought. I had her name and credit card on file. I pulled the credit card number and ran it through our authorization terminal to get the issuing bank information. There's a way to look up the BIN code, the first 6 digits, and identify the card issuer and type. The card was a prepaid Visa. Batch issued. BIN code traced to a card issuance batch from 2019. A block of prepaid Visas sent to a fulfillment address in Shelby County, Tennessee. The fulfillment address on the batch record was a street on the east side of Shelby County. I looked it up on the county assessor's site. Vacant lot. It had been a light industrial building that was demolished in 2018. The address didn't belong to anyone. A prepaid card from a batch mailed to an address that no longer existed. I pulled up the Tuesday night check-in footage from our exterior office camera. We have a fixed position camera that covers the office window and the entry sidewalk. I could see myself at the desk. I could see the office counter and the area where a guest would stand. I could see the edge of a canvas duffel bag, dark olive green, set on the floor at the guest's feet. I could see a forearm in a dark sleeve reaching to hand me the credit card. Every frame I had of Claire Renner cut off at the counter edge. The camera angle was designed to catch the desk interior, not the guest's face. She was the right height that her face was never in frame. I could not identify her from the footage. Then I pulled the electronic key log for room 228. Our door locks have a chip reader. Every time the lock is activated by a guest keycard or a master key, the event is logged with a timestamp and the card ID. Room 228's log for the week showed 2 entries. Tuesday, 10:28 p.m. Master key, card ID M01. That's my master. Check-in entry. That matched. I'd swiped her into the room, programmed her keycard, handed it to her. That was normal. Thursday, 2:14 a.m. Master key, card ID 1. My master. Again. Thursday at 2:14 a.m. I had not gone to room 228 on Thursday night. I'd knocked on the door at 11:34 p.m. and left. I'd done 2 floor walks, one at 2 a.m. and one at 4 a.m., and I'd walked past 228 but had not entered it. I had not swiped my master key into room 228 at any point on Thursday night. I printed the key log. I looked at my desk camera footage for Thursday at 2:14 a.m. The desk camera is a wide angle that covers the entire office interior. At 2:14 a.m. Thursday, I was at the desk, clearly visible, seated at the computer. My master key lanyard was around my neck, visible in the frame. I was at the desk, not at room 228, at 2:14 a.m. Thursday. My key was in room 228 at 2:14 a.m. Thursday. I was at the desk. The key cannot be in 2 places. I sat with that for a long time. Then I went back to the beginning. Tuesday night, I'd programmed a key card for Claire Renner, standard 2-key programming. I always issue 2 key cards even for single guests. I give one to the guest and put the other in the room's key envelope in my drawer in case it's needed. I checked my drawer. The envelope for 228 was there. 1 key card inside. I programmed 2. I give 1, keep 1. 2 key cards should have been in the system as issued for room 228. The key log showed only my master key. Claire Renner's guest key card, the one I'd handed across the desk Tuesday night, had no log entries. Not the check-in, not any subsequent entries. Her card didn't appear anywhere in the key log for room 228, which means she'd never used it, or she'd never been given one, or she hadn't needed one. One thing I went back to during the weeks that followed was the Tuesday night check-in. I'd seen Claire Renner walk to room 228. I'd watched her through the office window. Standard practice. You always watch a guest walk to their room. She'd walk down the sidewalk, put the key in the door, went inside. I tried to remember whether she'd put the key in smoothly or whether she'd fumbled with it. Whether she'd pushed the door open with her hand or her shoulder. Whether she'd turned and looked back at the office before the door closed. These things don't register consciously when you're watching them from 20 feet away at 10:30 at night. They register as a silhouette, as motion, as the sequence of events that means a guest got to their room without incident. I remembered the door closing. I remembered the D&D sign appearing on the door a minute later. I don't remember putting the sign on the handle. I I don't remember watching her put the sign on the handle. But the sign appeared, so she must have opened the door a crack and looped the sign out, except it was on the interior handle. I thought about that a lot. She would have had to open the door, loop the sign around the interior handle, which is recessed slightly from the edge of the door, and then close the door with the sign already in place. It's not the natural way to hang a D&D sign. The natural way is to hang it on the exterior handle before you close the door. To hang it on the interior handle, you'd have to thread it specifically, deliberately around the inside hardware, as if the outside didn't matter, as if you were hanging it for yourself, as if the sign was meant to keep something in, not to keep housekeeping out. I've thought about that framing a lot. It doesn't lead anywhere useful. But it's where my mind keeps going when I think about room 228. Dennis pulled room 228 from service for 6 weeks. He had a locksmith out to inspect the deadbolt and door frame. The locksmith confirmed the deadbolt was original hardware, functioning correctly, showed no signs of tampering. He had the electronic lock pulled and the log data validated by the manufacturer's support team. The 2:14 a.m. Thursday entry was confirmed as a legitimate read of card ID M001, my master key. Nobody could explain why my master key entered room 228 at 2:14 a.m. Thursday while I was visibly at the desk on camera. 6 weeks later, Dennis put room 228 back in service. Maria did the deep clean before reopening. She came to find me when she was done. She was holding something, a keycard, the thin white plastic kind, same as all ours. She'd found it under the mattress of the bed nearest the door, tucked between the mattress and the box spring, near the head of the bed. I took the card and put it in the reader at the desk. The reader returned the room assignment, room 228. I pulled up the key issuance log. That card's ID number had no issuance record. The system showed it as unissued, a card encoded for room 228 that the system had never given to anyone. I kept it in my desk drawer for 3 months. The D&D was hung from the inside. The deadbolt was thrown from the inside. The room was empty. Whatever put that sign up, it was not interested in being disturbed, and it was not interested in being found. One night in late May, I came in for my shift and opened my desk drawer. The card was gone. Nothing else was moved. The drawer was otherwise exactly as I'd left it. Just the card was missing. I don't work at the Clearview anymore. I left the following summer. Room 228 is still listed as an available room on the motel's booking site. I checked last week. I don't know what to do with that either.